Welcome back, everyone. Now, this year, 2021, it's super exciting. We've got the 25th anniversary coming. We've got new sets. We've got things that we don't even know what they're coming out, but we're getting totally freaking hyped for them way all the way into November. And we're, still in January? But this can also cause a completely different problem, which is burnout in the industry. We're already starting to see it. We're hearing rumblings, people talking about burnout. You see it with content creators all the time, but we're also starting to see it in Pokemon. So today, for this episode of Collectible Conversations, myself, Squeaks, and Pokemon Radar, we're going to sit and talk about burnout, how it impacts the hobby, how it impacts the Pokemon content creators that you guys watch every day, and kind of figure out maybe if we can come up with some ideas to curb that burnout and make it a little more easy and sustainable to sit and enjoy the hobby throughout the whole year with encountering something that's going to pretty much make you want to leave the hobby. So sit tight, grab yourself a drink, get some popcorn, tuck yourself in, and enjoy the ride.
But first, this video is sponsored by Nirvana Candle, the 100% soy self-extinguishing candle. For those that are crazy busy like me, going through endless amounts of Pokemon cards or just forgetful sometimes, I can leave a candle lit all day long, and that's a huge waste and also a huge hazard to myself, my house, and especially my Pokemon cards. But I'm not stressed out when I light one of these. All you gotta do is click the button on the back, lift the lid, and you're good to go for 1 hour. You light the wooden wicks and they give off this beautiful crackling sound while you take in their wonderful aromas of apple breeze and many others. Head on over to nirvanacandle.com, use code RADAR at checkout for 5% off. Let's get back to the video. What up, Squeaks? How you doing, man?
What up, Radar? How you doing, brother?
Pretty fantastic. But I mean, I'm a roller coaster of emotions. I mean, we saw where I was last time, so I mean, right now in this moment,
For recap, where were you last time?
Overwhelmed. Burnout. That's where we are. I'm burned out, I think. I don't know. I keep going back and forth about this. I don't know what's happening.
I'm just letting everyone know, like, preface, we've been in a call for an hour and a half now trying to get started on recording this, and it's because I think we are both just very all over the place today. Like, do you guys out there just ever have one of those days where you like you like have a task to do and you just cannot get it started? Like, you will find every excuse in the world. Radar had to go to the bathroom. I had to find a fan. We like decided we're gonna redo how we record intro. Like, we have found every excuse under the sun to delay the actual recording of what we're doing today. And I think part of that is in part because of burnout. And I think Radar may be feeling it a little more than me, and he'll get you guys all caught up on that here in a second. But I would say that at least to some degree, both of us are experiencing it in some fashion. So get everyone kind of caught up. You've already told me, but tell everyone else, where's your headspace at?
Yeah, well, it's tough now because after talking to you for like an hour, I'm motivated by you. So it's just like, okay, I'm on a whole new leg where I want to get going again. But no, no, yeah, I've taken on a lot of different things here in the past few months. First, leaving my job to sell Pokemon full time. So I increased the amount of effort and time I was putting into that. And I was like, hey, let's bring the podcast back. And then I did that. And then I said, hey, let's do 2 episodes a week. And I was like, might as well start doing an episode a day. Oh, what's up, Squeaks? You want to do 2 podcasts a week as well? Oh, let's start a Patreon. Oh, let's do some consignments. Oh, let's do some consulting. And it just stacked.
Website to build.
I still have a website to build. Like,
he didn't even remember that. His list is so long, he doesn't even know where the bottom is.
It's stacked up so fast. And I'm so grateful for the opportunities that have been presented to me. And I really am enjoying a lot of these things. Unfortunately, I'm enjoying the podcast the most, and that makes me $0. But yeah, I've just taken on so much lately, and you know me well. I'm not the most structured individual. I'm not the most organized, planned, figure out how to attack this thing. I like to wing it.
This is putting it very lightly.
I like to wing things. I'm a bright
The Leaning
individual.
Tower of Pisa was more structured than I'm just
But I mean, the simple fact is, like, the things that I need to get done, I get done, and I do it well. But I could be doing so much better. Exactly. I could be doing so much better in these other aspects, but to be honest, I'm spread too thin with the amount of energy that I'm willing to put into all this right now. You know, my main source of income is through selling cards, through doing consignments, through doing consulting. So when I'm taking time away from that and putting in all this time and effort into these videos, and yeah, I do enjoy doing the podcast. It's just there's no reward other than that was a nice conversation. I feel good about it, but you know that only goes so far. So just this whole thing has just been a lot for me, and it's just making my head's just jumbled. I don't know what's going on in there because I don't know what to focus on. Like, I know there's a huge opportunity in content creation in the Pokemon world, especially with what I'm doing with podcasts as you know, my mainstream content. I know there's an opportunity there. It's just a matter of how am I navigating it and how am I balancing it out with the rest of my life. Because before Pokemon, there was a whole different Radar didn't exist. There was a whole different John. Like, I was a whole different person. And
wait, who's John?
That's me. I'm John. Like, yeah. And I miss that. Like, I miss the old me in a lot of ways. I miss that lifestyle, that adventurous, athletic world, taking on, just doing whatever, right? I miss that. I think a lot of us, I mean, I think we all miss that because we're all cooped up and stuck in our homes for the past year and a half. Like, that's just, it's really starting to finally hit me. I know it hit a lot of people early on in quarantine, but for me, I was excited about it. I was ready for it. I had Pokemon to fall back on.
Yeah, you had goals, you had focus. So,
yeah,
you know, you weren't stagnant at the time, right? So a lot of people that they're kind of in that 9-to-5 grind rat race, they're, you know, they've got their system and their flow, this threw a wrench in that. And so for a lot of people that impacted them deep, but you weren't in that spot. You were kind of still in the fresh new coolness phase, right? Like, when exactly did you leave your job for this full time?
In September, middle of September. So
you were still almost like you were still at when COVID started, you were still at your job.
Yeah.
Did COVID push you towards doing this?
It 100%. I mean, there's so many different factors. I mean, the job that I had, I did not like. It was a phenomenal job. I liked my boss, but it just was not the job for me. And they forced me back to Michigan. I was out in California, and because of COVID and the economy and the business, we had to close up shop in California, and they moved me back to Michigan, which was kind of on my mind for a while too. Wanted to come back to be closer to my family, closer to my friends, get away from $3,000 a month in rent, and so, like, at the time it was like exciting. There was opportunity. I was able to come back home, and then that got shut down right away. I couldn't go out and see friends. I couldn't go out and hang out with friends. I had to be safe and schedule the right times to go see my family. And it made that was supposed to be a sweet moment of coming back into a more normalized life, being back into the swing of things of the old John, that was just completely blocked off. It was just, it was halted. And, you know, a lot of people experienced that, but it was just a really weird timing thing because I was, you know, full mental, was ready to go, get back home, do that life thing, and it just wasn't there. So as COVID became a big thing for all of us, I mean, especially in Pokemon and collectibles, it was exciting for us because it created this huge opportunity. I mean, I was doing this well before it started. You were doing this well before it started, but the fact that we were able to at least the guys like myself who was working a 9 to 5, we were able to stay at home. We were working from home, so we had more time to be on the computer and do our eBay stuff. So I was able to put a lot more time, a lot more effort into that. Business boomed, Pokemon boomed, collectibles boomed. And it just got to a point where it was like, I don't need this 9 to 5. It's just a terrible thing to wake up in the morning. I don't need to, like, it's just another thing on my mind that I didn't need to worry about. So, yeah, that there was a lot of factors that pushed me out of it, but, yeah, COVID, Pokemon boom, hating my job.
Got you going there. Yeah. So now, I mean, here we are, 2021, COVID still going, right? We're optimistic things will get better, but it's very obvious if anyone out there's listening, with one ear of focus, they can hear almost that burnout in your voice, just even describing the situation, because you effectively left a burnout situation to try to get unburnout, right? To fizzle out until you eventually your flame would burn again. And I think that started right when you jump back into Pokemon, and that's kind of why maybe the delay of COVID and the impact, like you said, has hit you here, and now you're almost like falling back into that cycle of burnout. And this is something that right now I would say most people, at least on my content side, would say I'm probably the most motivated I've ever been, right? Like I think even just like in day-to-day conversation, like people can just tell I am just like absolutely just like jacked to the tits right now. Like I'm just wired. Like I've got like something on my mind every second of every day. I literally laid down for bed the other night and I told my wife, I was like, I have to find a way to shut my brain off. Like it's gotta stop. Like I will lay down for bed and won't fall asleep for like 2 hours because I'll just be thinking of stuff. And then I'll go to bed and then I'll wake up after like 3 hours and I will just be like livid. But then I'll get to the point like right now where I'm like blinking like 30 times a day because like my eyes are like so tired. But like I've been where you're at. I've literally in this industry, in Pokemon, I've sat in your shoes where you're starting out, you're getting that grind going, you're going full time. So now the pressure is far more enormous than what it ever was at any other point. And no matter how much you try to like segment it in its little box and compartmentalize it in the back of your brain, it's hard to, because it's always there telling you you've got bills to pay. I won't sing the rest of the song. I really want to, though, about how you got mouths to feed and nothing in this world's for free. Anyways, you try to, right? You try to put it aside and it's tough. And you're trying to go through the motions of figuring out all of these different things that you have to do. But when you take that leap from this is like a hobby thing I do on the side, I work my other job, I'll spend some money here, sell some cards there. If I don't want to do it that day, I don't have to now this is a business and I am the owner of the business. So I am the CEO, but I am also the stock person, the purchaser, the bookkeeper, sometimes the accountant, maybe. I am the shipper, and you go through and now all the hats, you have so many hats that you're like Dr. Seuss or what was it? The Cat in the Hat. He's the one that had the real tall hat. But yeah, Cat in the Hat. That's what I was thinking, not Dr. Seuss.
It is Dr. Seuss.
He's the one that made it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he made it. He's not. Never mind. Okay. Anyways, but you start realizing all of these responsibilities, and it takes that weight and it compounds it. Which then very quickly, the things that you derived enjoyment out of, one, you're not doing them for nearly the amount of time that you thought. I think for most people in this industry, it's like buying the collections and the search and the hunt. That's kind of what gravitates us there. But some people enjoy the selling or the negotiation, meeting people, all of that. Like for me, it's meeting people and buying stuff. Those are like the two things. But you're doing that like such a fraction of the time with such an enormous amount of pressure on it that what it does is you start to become very aware. You start to become aware of all of your competitors, what everyone else is doing, what you're doing, where your like strengths are, your weaknesses, but also, and you can see this in the content creation game. If anyone out there is making content right now, I guarantee if you've made it for more than a week, you felt this, where you'll do something, whether it's post a video or negotiate with someone or whatever, where you'll compare it to the previous day or the previous days. And maybe that one day you just didn't quite hit the home run you had hit the day before and you feel bad about it. You feel guilty, negative, like it takes a toll on you. And that stuff, if you don't have like a really positive mindset, or you've never really dealt with that before, it starts to add up and it starts to build on itself. And eventually that leads to burnout. And today our topic, isn't obviously just about running a business and encountering burnout, but, for both of us, this is like where we can really relate our experiences. But you can even see this in a greater whole in Pokemon, the card game, right? I think these same things happen, maybe not with like the pressure and everything like that, but let's say you're a collector, right? And you're out there and you want to collect Hidden Fates. And at first, it's just Hidden Fates. We'll buy some of the cards, maybe open a few packs, and start building our collection. But now you start seeing print runs are starting to end. The supply is starting to deplete. Prices are starting to go up, and you start getting that pressure on your shoulders. Well, now I've got to finish it because now time's not on my side, supply's not on my side, money's not on my side, and you start feeling that pressure of, well, I've got to get this. And then next, I want to collect all the shinies, but now there's shining fates. And now I got to get all those shinies. And they're going to be allocated. And I missed GameStop's pre-order date. And it starts to add up. And it's just like the business side of it. And it almost feels like a business, which is crazy because like it's a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. And yet it feels like a job. And it leads people to that burnout. And so just hearing you, kind of, talk about what you've went through and kind of where you're at right now, it really, like, I feel like I'm just seeing it all over the place right now.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe that's because I'm like so wired that like everyone else just feels burnt out. I don't know. Like, there's like no happy medium for me. Like, I'm either real freaking burnt out or I'm like.
Well, and here's the thing, like,
you're gonna think I drink like 8 Mountain Dews, but I only had 4 Wild Cherry Pepsis before this.
Only 4. Jeez. Such a.
And now I'm drinking a sugared up Gatorade as you drink water and remain healthy.
Unbelievable. But yeah, no, it's wild, right?
Burnout ain't getting me, baby.
Gatorade, that's the key. That's the key.
Wild Cherry Pepsi and Gatorade. It's in my veins. You cut me open, it's just gonna be like a fountain of soda. All right, keep going though. Keep going.
But yeah, no, the crazy thing is like I've been more successful than I ever thought I would be at this point in my life, and especially in a world of selling Pokemon cards. And it's all going great. And like, by no means am I going to stop. Like, it's just not. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life in some capacity. I love doing this. I love everything that I'm doing. I'm just doing too much of it too fast. And I've just, from my personal capabilities and current, I guess, time availability, I can't put 100% effort into all these different things. And to me, I really value putting out quality content, providing quality customer service, providing quality products to people. And I talked to all my YouTuber buddies, PokeRan, PokeRev, Rhyme Style, Real Breaking Nate, all these guys. And early on was asking them their advice on YouTube and doing all this. And like, some of them were, you got to pump out 7 videos a day. You got to do this, this, and that. And that came from them being full-time YouTubers. The ones telling me that. And took that to heart real quick and didn't really understand that I'm a full-time Pokemon seller. I'm not a full-time YouTuber. So then I took on 2 full-time jobs right away. And I didn't have nice editing, so I didn't really truly like the videos that I was putting out that weren't the podcast. So I resorted to doing little highlights of the podcast, which honestly I still think is a great idea to do, and I'd love to do that, but it's just too time consuming to go back to my podcast, cut up highlights, and put them out because I'm listening to a 2-hour video and trying to hone in on what to cut out while I'm trying to do something else, so I'm not really focused on it.
The 10 minutes of gold within 2 hours.
Exactly.
To find that without listening to the full 2 hours is pretty tough to do.
Exactly. And I'm on the side doing my eBay stuff, doing my charts, doing my accounting, whatever, while I'm listening to it, try to make that work, and I'm missing something or I'm screwing up in my books. And it's just like I gotta work on focusing on certain things at one time instead of everything so that I can do it correctly, do it the right way, and really provide quality information, a good quality output to everybody. And So that's why I'm pulling back. Like I'm pulling back right now.
So you're officially pulling, because before you were aiming, it was 7 days, right? 7 days
Yeah.
a week, content every day.
Yeah. And at one point, I was doing Twitch at the same time too in the mornings. Like I was doing so much. I haven't been on Twitch in like 2 weeks. And yeah, so I'm pulling back. I'm only putting out my podcast videos. I've got the 2 Collectibles with Cards, Drinking Coffee on Mondays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. And then I've got the 2 Collectible Conversation episodes with the wonderful Squeaks Game World on Sundays and Wednesdays, right? Sundays and Wednesdays.
Yeah. And right, those are the days we post them. Yeah.
See, I don't even like. It's just like that. These are important to me, and like the fact that wasn't just like off the top of my head is a problem.
Yeah. Well, because you're tired, exhausted. Yeah, and I think we've all gotten that. Even if you're not running your own business or collecting cards, whatever. I think we've all encountered burnout in our lives at some point, right? And we understand the toll that takes. So, first of all, I just real quick want to note. So you're going back to 4 days. It sounds like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. Are you
possibly a 5th? Some point.
Maybe. Yeah. Are you reining back Twitch as well?
I'm thinking about going back to Twitch and having it there because I'll be able to have more time now where I'll be able to hop on Twitch and do things here and there.
So you're almost trying to alleviate. So essentially, let's say you had a plate and had 8 things on it. You're essentially saying, let's take 2 things off that plate and reallocate that time to the 6 things to make those 6 things really something, worth watching or worth being a part of, instead of just kind of doing 8 things, half-assed.
Right. And to touch on the bringing Twitch back in, right? Like that, I don't even think I'm going to make that Pokemon related. I might open it up back to when I was doing just searching for Pokemon cards, but realistically, I want to play video games again. I want to play League of Legends. I want to play Call of Duty. I want to have some time to enjoy things that I enjoy on the side. And if I throw on the Twitch stream, I'll throw on the Twitch stream. So like, that's something that's just in the back of my head that I might do if I have time for it. But yeah, I'm just
so I'm hearing here. So essentially, reining back, reallocating the time, and figuring out the best way that you can move forward to, 1, not encounter burnout again, but 2, almost to pull yourself out of this burnout. Like this is an attempt to essentially rescue yourself from the burnout you're experiencing.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting you mentioned that you're going to do this right at this time, and that you had already mentioned Pokerev once in here, that you'd kind of talked to him throughout your time about, burnout and some of these other people, because I just saw a video that he made that he is ending his subscriptions on YouTube. Correct me if I'm wrong about all of this. I watched the video, but I'm not exactly sure how YouTube's program works. But essentially, people subscribed and could get packs open live or buy into them or whatever. But it became so cumbersome time-wise, even though he loved doing it, because there were literally just so many packs to open. You can only open a booster pack so fast and like show it off, and to where you make it the presentation that it's supposed to be and people get to enjoy in it. You can only do that so much before your literal whole life is that. And I mean, you could see in his face, like, obviously he doesn't ever want to tell someone like, hey, I'm taking away this thing that, you had for so long. But you could see that this is completely objective. I've not talked to him or anything like that. But from my outside perspective, it looked like maybe he was encountering some degree of burnout of maybe not as much. I don't love what I'm doing, but more so just, I don't love the amount I'm having to do it.
Yeah.
Right. He talked about he's opening those packs for, 4 to 6 hours to 8 hours a day, and then having to go and pack literally those hundreds of orders for another couple hours, plus to do his eBay, which is another couple of hours, plus all his life stuff and everything, all the other hats you have to wear. And then, he's got a family and everything like that. And eventually, like, someone is going to not have time. Like, and, so it's interesting. I see you, taking this route, because I see him doing the same. I had, last week we had talked about the, what was the exact word you used? That, like, overwhelming.
Yeah.
The Pokemon's overwhelming. So we've literally in a span of a week went from overwhelming to burnout, right? And I'd kind of given a reference that, like for me right now, I'm not to burnout phase. Like I'm super motivated,
Hmm.
but I am having to figure out the rebalance of the time 100%. I'd given a little story about how my wife and I schedules were completely off and just didn't see each other, and I had Z and G reach out to me. Super nice guy, sent me a really nice message just thanking me for the content I make and everything, kind of saying, like, hey, I've been around the block, I've done this, it's really easy to fall susceptible to that burnout. And, to make sure to take some of that time, reallocate that time. And that was super nice of him to do. That actually like really made me feel good. And made me feel like somebody understood, that somebody that's been through it really understood me on the other side.
Hmm.
And so I get it, man. Like I get where you're coming from. There's two distinct times in my history of running the store since 2015 where I remember I like brick wall burnout. And where, the first time I just didn't do anything for like 2 months. Like, I mean, when you're your own boss, you have that like nice luxury of just like, I don't want to work. Unfortunately, though, that really bites you because nobody else is working, and so that like really hurt.
Yeah.
But and then the other time, it was like to the point where I was like, if I can't pull myself out of this, I'm done. Like I am done with the industry. And we had just when we were brainstorming topics and we came up to this one, I had even told you like very briefly before we started that if I ever encountered burnout like that again, I don't think I could pull myself out of it. Like I think that would be it for me in the industry, which is why I'm so carefully trying to tailor,
Hmm.
the amount of time I'm spending on certain things. And am I, dedicating enough time to my life outside of all of this? Am I focusing on the things within this that I really do enjoy that keeps me motivated and passionate versus the things that don't? And one of the things that I do not enjoy in the buy sell trade industry is packing orders. I just don't like it. And for me, one of the biggest cumbersome tasks of that is just how burdensome it is just to do it all, right? And so one of the things I focused on in the last year was, as I started to kind of feel that burnout creep in and the frustration, I was like, I'm gonna optimize everything. I'm gonna figure out the best ways to do it, the fastest ways to do it, and come up with a system, a plan. And the things that I can't do that for, I'm either going to find a way to outsource them. And that's kind of like the process I'm in right now with getting the singles to Troll and Toad Evo, because it is taking too much of my time for the money that it makes, or I'm just going to cut them out altogether. And there were a
Hmm.
few things I did that with as well. And because essentially it was either do that, right, and outsource it, make a little less money, give them a little money to do it for me, or cut it out, or I don't do that. And eventually I'll be cutting it out because I'll be cutting everything out because I'll be done with it, because I'll just be like so fed up to the point I can't handle it. And so though, that is obviously something that like I should have done way, way, way back when, right? And didn't. I just encountered burnout multiple times until finally I've kind of like mentally learned the challenges and how to see the signs oncoming and everything like that. And it feels like I'm almost like when I'm hearing you talk and watching you talk about this, it almost feels like I'm watching myself in some regards back then
Hmm.
go through those same steps, right? And so I want you to kind of describe your last couple weeks and kind of, you know, where you felt good to where you feel now and maybe why you think that. And maybe we can kind of figure out what some of those signs look like, you know?
Oh man. Okay, full therapy
I know
session
I'm putting
here.
you on the spot here. I'm putting you on the spot. No
Yeah. No,
pressure
I
if
mean,
you can't fully break it down, but like
yeah. No,
there,
it's
there's got to be a few distinct things that like really, you know, got you to where you are right now.
yeah. So I mean, it's tough when you start to compare to these other guys, right? Which comparing is always a dangerous thing. But PokeRev's a machine. Like that guy, even though he's pulling back that adventure tier, he's just upping it to the point where you have to be in the next tier, I think, to be a part of that pack
Yeah.
opening service. So, I mean, he just has too much demand, so he's moving it. He's moving it to a
Yeah.
higher tier, and hopefully it reduces the amount of packs he has to open. I mean, not only does he have to open them and package them, he has to do the whole beforehand of getting the labels on and organizing the whole thing for who's getting what packs when.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And like, I mean, even yourself, the amount of packages that you go through, and Z and G, the amount of cards he goes through for grading. It's like for me, it's just like nothing compared to you guys in those aspects. So it's just a whole different kind of, I guess, avenue that I'm worried about. Like, you know, my health I'm a super high maintenance person with my health. Like, it's just unfortunate. It's where I'm at in life, and it's what I have to take care of. And I've strayed away from that terribly, and I need to get back on track with that. You know, you talk about, you know, your relation, you have a wife, and you talked about that thing, and Rev has a beautiful family, got a couple kids. Z&G, he's got his wife, he's got a new kid. You know, for me, when I first jumped into this full-time thing, within like a week, me and my girlfriend broke up because she just couldn't handle it. There's just, it just wasn't healthy for her. It wasn't healthy for me. It was just bad. So we cut ties, like, and that was,
which, like, maybe in the long run for you guys will be great, but now that's a support system piece that when you started this thing, you thought, you know, would be there, and it realized, well, maybe it wasn't as much of a support piece as I thought. And like, yeah, keep going. But yeah,
yeah. So, you know, I guess maybe a blessing, but also like, you know, like having that extra support, I thought moving forward was going to be a huge help to all that. Right. So like when you go through these 16-hour work days and you don't have anybody to just chill with afterwards, it sucks. Like it's tough. So having that support structure is huge. And I mean, thankfully, you know, it's a little bit better now with COVID, where I'm able to go visit friends and do stuff in person more. So that helps. But again, like that whole mindset of wanting to get back to kind of the older me of being more physically healthy and adventurous, and I guess more experienced, focused life. You know, that's tough. But yeah, from a few weeks ago, you know, things were doing well. I was having fun on, you know, making these videos. Things were selling like crazy, like they were in October, November, December. I was getting a lot of, I guess, happiness out of the cards, the cards I was able to buy, the connections that I was making, the collections that I was also able to find, to a point where this is expedited so fast in our industry. I can't find those cards anymore. It's so competitive to get them. So I'm not getting that same rewarding experience. Yeah, just coming to the realization that, you know, I've like selling off that Kangaskhan, like, as much as I'm still happy that I did do that, like, I just realized, like, that's the type of card that I want to have and hold on for 20 years, because I know what it's going to do in this market, like, just moving forward. And yeah, it's this whole,
but it's also a facilitator, right? So now you're like rocking a hard place here. Like, I know what it can do, but I also can't move forward without moving it.
Right.
So
exactly. So yeah, I mean, it was a huge step and it had to be taken, and I'm glad I took it. But yeah, my focus is just like, I just keep changing what I want. It's my mind. I just cannot make up my mind. And like, I wanted to, originally when I left my job, I was all gung-ho about going to get my MBA, get a better corporate job, like climb the corporate ladder, or do a real Silicon Valley type startup with whoever, and kind of work that world, and always continue to have Pokemon on the side as a collection, as an investment, whatever. And I mean, yeah, Pokemon again got out of hand where it was booming, and it was like too big of an opportunity to not put all of my time into and not put all of my focus into. So I dropped off that idea to get an MBA. Like, I mean, I can still go get that whenever, right? Yeah. But that got put on hold, and the whole idea of getting back into the corporate world got put on hold. And like, there is a part of me, like, I do enjoy that corporate world. I enjoy working with people. Like, that's that simple fact. I mean, yeah, there is a great benefit to being your own boss, setting your own time, working whenever and however you want to work. But it's a lonely world. Like,
Well, and what I'm hearing from you is that you kind of had this plan in place, and you realize maybe the plan isn't really the destination I wanted to go to.
Mm-hmm.
So you just kind of kept moving forward and didn't really know where the destination was. You might
Yeah.
still not know where the destination is, but you're still moving forward. Now the problem is, though, you're moving forward with not a lot of direction, and you're trying to figure it out as you go. So now you're trying to do all these things to kind of figure out what that is while you're trying to just keep yourself afloat, and it's pulling you in all these directions, which is compounding on itself and leading to that burnout.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does that sound pretty accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And for me, hearing that, I think this is like a great, pivot moment in the sense that, whether you're out there right now and you're like, I want to open up a, Pokemon card business, maybe you already have, or a card business, collectible business, whatever. Or even on the flip side, if you're just a collector, I think this shows how valuable just having some sense of structure and direction is. And this is not me taking a jab at you in the sense of like how we made the Leaning Tower Pizza joke and all that stuff. It's more because of the fact that this is something I struggled with for the longest time as well. I left it's funny I hear you say the MBA thing and everything, because I left my job previously. I worked at a publishing company. And so I had, worked in the corporate world, professional, work your way up the ladder thing, although I felt the ladder was very short. And I decided, I'm going to go start my own business with this thing, because I know I can at least have it keep me afloat for a little while, build up my resume by doing all of these things and really being able to pad that, and then go out and get a job at a different corporation and work my way up that ladder. Eventually that did not happen because I found, I found I love this and wanted to keep doing it. But I do now question, hearing you talk about that, I can't really like place exactly where my burnout occurred the first time. But I do question if maybe that was because my mentality was starting to shift, kind of like yours did, where I had this plan and then I went to not really a plan anymore. And now
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to weigh out all of these things and do all of these things, and yet still keep it going. And I don't know where I'm going. And, it's like when you're driving a car and, your phone dies, so you don't have your GPS anymore, and you like kind of know where you're going, but you don't really know where you're going. You take a wrong turn, and now you're feeling real lost. And that's, you start feeling pressure, you start freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that. And I think it just manifests itself in burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And which is then what like shies and pushes us away, because it's pushing us away from the unknown. It's pushing us away from that direction where we don't really know what we're going, and it's trying to push us back to something more comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's to jump back into just any job we can find or do whatever. And so you either push through that and find a new end goal, that new scary, untraversed whatever, or you just go back,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think, collectors can relate to this too. If you just start buying stuff, when you get in the hobby, first of all, there's just so much. I mean, Pokemon just has everything. We've talked about one of our past podcasts. You can literally buy anything with Pokemon on it, all the way down to like forks and spoons.
Mm-hmm.
And so you jump in and it's overwhelming. I mean, there is just everything out there. But if you create a little bit of direction, maybe I'm just going to start with this set or this time era or this Pokemon even, it almost becomes more manageable, more doable. And then you start getting in those collector groups, though, or you start talking to people, and then you hear what they like or why they like it. The one that pops in my mind for this is trophy cards. It's always trophy cards, because most people don't know they exist until they hear about them, and then they're enamored by them.
Mm-hmm.
But then your direction starts to change, because you had this very clear cut path. You were going to do it. But then all these other variables start coming in, and well, maybe I'll do this or maybe I'll do that. And the next thing you know, you're buying every modern set that comes out because they're all short printed. You don't care if it's Fates Collide, if it's Crimson Invasion, Evolution, $1,000 box. Who even cares? Let's blow all the money. And next thing you know, you're all over the place. You've completely lost your direction. You don't even know where you are anymore. And you're feeling burnout, because now Pokemon as a whole, whether it's that business or collector side, you just feel overwhelmed, because, well, what the heck's going on? How did I even get here? Like
But
we have a friend that we got into modern because one night I got him to do a modern break. He had pretty much been like a vintage, semi-vintage purist, like didn't really dabble in modern at all. and I got him to do a modern break, and he wanted to hit a Galarian Berserker secret rare, and he ripped it. You could not have wrote a better narrative, except that led to this whole spiral of just like breaks, modern everything. And now talking to him about, collecting and modern, I've even kind of gotten the vibes that he's a little overwhelmed with it. And I mean, he's been in the hobby a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I've gotten those vibes though, that like, he's kind of feeling overwhelmed because he started with this direction. I want to do one break. I want one gold card. And then after that break, it became, I'm going to get all the gold cards.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's finishing tag team sets in English and Japanese. Now he's doing, and like, I really hope he listens to this because like, I feel like he can relate. And like, that is that thing, whether you're a collector or a business person, it's so easy to fall into that trap.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know that I feel like everyone falls into it at some point. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know that there's like any real like warning. Like, I don't think there's anything like that. I think
This
it's
is
one of those things
This is the warning.
This is it. You're in it. You realize once you're in it, like, holy shit, I'm burnt out. Like, and that's it. And we're hearing it now. I mean, we hear it every day, dude. People like, the frustration, right? Can't find product anywhere. Mm-hmm. I think, we scalpers are always talked about, but they're talked about to the degree that they are right now, only when people are frustrated, only when like, people's emotions are at a high. I think people are burnout. I think they just want collecting to become accessible again. I think they want the hobby to become accessible again. And the fact that it isn't leads them to getting frustrated with things like scalpers. Remember how we talked about you become more aware. Mm-hmm. You become more aware of what everyone around you is doing. You look at everything. And that's kind of what, before you go into Target, you buy a pack. You don't give two shits what Billy beside you is doing, right? He may be over there scaling packs. I saw a video. A friend posted where a guy's literally just at a Target just putting packs down. But like, you don't care, right? Because you do your thing. Mm-hmm. But it's once your thing has like a hiccup in it, now you notice what everyone else is doing. Mm-hmm. And that causes your emotions to run high because maybe they're doing a thing that you don't agree with, or it's impeding on the thing you want to do to your end goal. And that stuff starts to happen and it leads to that burnout. And I think we're seeing the beginning residual effects of kind of just people as a whole, mm-hmm. in the hobby experiencing this. And, maybe people are thinking I'm like trying to too big brain it or something, but like, I don't think it's a coincidence that we see all of these people getting frustrated more so than ever about, scalpers or, resealed boxes or, you and Pokerab effectively discussing burnout in your own respective ways. I don't think that any of this is a coincidence, that a lot of this is occurring for a lot of people at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like, do you have any thoughts on that? Like, I know I'm just like going, I'm like in the zone and I'm like I mean, 110 degrees. And you're like, damn, I'm burnt out. I'm 20 degrees. This guy's here like a jet. Like,
our last podcast, I got a lot of messages from people about, from regular collectors, modern collectors who have really displayed or portrayed their frustration to me in emails and these comments. And, it's hard to pick out who's who. I don't know who, I don't know these people personally. I just know the people that I deal with, my friends like personal friends that have gotten into the flipping game, and even the people just involved in our Discord and other Discords that are in the flipping game. To me, a lot of this is frustration because of the money aspect, and they're losing opportunities to make money. This whole Pokemon has gotten to such a high point that you just cannot ignore the price tag, and that's what's driving in everybody. I mean, sure, it wouldn't happen if we did not have all these people did not have some sort of nostalgic attachment to it. But the amount of messages that I get from, I'm used to the, like, when I first started, I'd get messages from college buddies like, oh, this is cool, Pokemon, pick stuff up. Then it evolved into high school buddies. Yesterday, I got a message from a kid who was in like my second grade class, who I hadn't seen. Awesome. I hadn't seen since maybe fifth grade. I think he left.
Yeah.
He messaged me on my Instagram. It's like, I've been a big fan of yours for a while. I just put two and two together. I'm this guy. And I'm like, holy shit. I remember you. But like, what the hell? Like it's
what can I do for you?
it's unbelievable. But most of the messages that I get is, what should I buy? How do I buy a box? How do I flip? And that's, so it's hard to like really say that there's a burnout in Pokemon. I think it's just a burnout on the money side of things.
Which right now it's hard to not be in the money side of things, because that's what we're hearing about everywhere. New auction record prices, new box sale. You know, Leonhardt bought a box. Is he going to break it? Is it going to set a new record and cause all our cards to go up? Should we grade cards to make more money? Like, that's what you hear everywhere. And money adds pressure, right? Like that, we talk about that pressure that kind of leads to burnout. That is like a direct result of money, I think.
Yeah. And like, I'm in a lucky position where I've set myself up to be okay for a couple of years if I just kind of, again, just sit back and let my cards sell. Like, I can be fine. I can do great. You know, Rev is in a league way above me, and he's even set up his YouTube in a league way above most people, to where he can pull back and still be very successful with it. So, you know, I like to think this is just like in my world, this is just beautiful chaos. Like, you know, having all these different directions I'm taking has landed me great opportunities. And if I had taken certain focuses, maybe I never would have had that opportunity. So I've been lucky in these regards. You know, again, I think you should follow the Squeaks way of life more so than the Radar's way of life. But
maybe to a lesser degree.
there is a beautiful chaos within my life. Like the way that I've been able to build my network and my collection and my inventory is partly because of having no direction, and literally just, like you said, like my phone turned off, I missed the exit, and I just happened to upon another great opportunity. So there is this controlled chaos that I have to some extent that has really been a big part of creating Pokemon Radar. So, you know, I can't completely, you know, like take that fact of being the burnout, because I do enjoy that. Like, I'm very aware of it. I'm very self-aware. That's one of the biggest things in not just like Pokemon and what you're collecting, but in life, is being self-aware. Like, I listened to Gary Vee talk about self-awareness for an hour today and how important that is. And like, there's no way to teach it. There's no way to like understand it, but finding self-awareness,
once you
and I mean, it's always going to be, Chase, you will always improve, but I'm just very self-aware of what is happening in my, what are you gonna say?
So do you think, you talk about like this beautiful chaos, and in my mind it was kind of like that chaos is what led to the burnout. Do you think that maybe there was like a degree of chaos that you were comfortable in, and maybe that chaos expanded beyond the limit that, you know, like, I think, okay, let me use an example. I think we all like a little bit of chaos. Like, I'm a procrastinator. You know, I always was in school. I would wait till the night before to do every assignment, wait till the absolute last minute to study, et cetera, et cetera. But it was always controlled chaos. Like, that procrastination was always still within a realm that I knew I could do it within. But if for some reason a hiccup happened or something occurred that was going to make it take longer than what I had allotted for, now that almost controlled chaos became just chaos. And like, you know, did start to get me frazzled, or, you know, do you think maybe that something along, and we don't have to like sit and cross analyze what it was, but do you think something along maybe took that beautiful chaos, that even though it is chaos, you felt like you had control of it, or some degree of reining it in, and had kind of maybe expanded it beyond the scope of what you were comfortable with?
Yeah, I think it's 100% this content creation world. I got caught up in wanting to become an influencer, become this Leonhardt type guy, but I just also know I'm not ready or willing to do what I have to do to become that. And there's just this clashing personalities, basically, that I would have had to put out there between my podcasts and the videos that I need to put out there in order to grow.
Yeah.
And doing both, yeah, definitely created this uncomfortable, uncontrolled kind of situation, because it was just bouncing back and forth between these two different personalities, basically. So, yeah, yeah.
So I think from there, then I think the big takeaway from that is whether you're like a super structured, like, and detail oriented person, or whether you maybe a little more like fly by the seat of your pants. I think the nice thing that you mentioned there is like how you would watch Gary Vee and talk about self-awareness. Is I do think that may be the big takeaway. Is it doesn't really matter which of those two you are, as long as you're comfortable within it, right? And because at the end of the day, it's human nature that you want to feel safe, secure, comfortable. Like, that's survival instinct, right? And so I think becoming self-aware of your environment, what you're doing, the ecosystem around you that is, ever evolving, and how Pokemon's evolving is so important. And this is kind of the transition I wanted to make, is talking about like how you can almost avoid this burnout, whether you are starting that business or collecting. I think there's a lot of overlap and parallels there, that there has to be like some key to this. And I think you really hit on it there, is that if you're very self-aware and you are kind of doing that introspection and figuring out not only what your own strengths and weaknesses are, but how you kind of evolve as a person within all of this, right? It helps you really figure out when things change, how you need to react so that you don't encounter that burnout. If a new set gets announced and you had budgeted for the 4 sets of the year, and now you're freaking out, maybe it's time to sit down and analyze, maybe I don't need all the sets. Maybe I just need the cards I like, or maybe, and adjust those things so that you don't encounter that burnout. Because I think that's what a lot of people do, right? Is they don't adjust. They just keep trying to grind through it. And, I can definitely say the second time that I ever encountered burnout in this industry, that is pretty much what I did. And looking back in hindsight now, I know that was not like, I made it through, but that was not the right way to do it. Like the whole just like, let's just push through it mentality, get through it, because you almost lose some of the love for what you do then, right? And, whether you're running a business or you're collecting, you would think that you've got some passion for it, that you've got some love for it. So you never want to have any loss of that love, because then it's never going to be as great as what it was at any other point in time. And I think to some degree, I did. I think that's why, sometimes I get a lot of enjoyment out of buying like Naruto boxes, right? Or, the Harry Potter book that I bought last year. I think part of that is almost because it gives me like that full feeling, whereas now Pokemon maybe only gives me like 90%, because I did just push through that grind instead of really just self-evaluating and pivoting based on what wasn't working. I just kept doing what wasn't working and just grinded through it. Whereas now, here in 2021, I'm figuring out what wasn't working for me. And maybe it was working financially, but it wasn't working, emotionally. Or, in your instance, you had talked about physically, it's not working for you because it's taking time away from you and focusing on your health, and really evaluating those things and figuring out how to compensate for them, and figuring out what do I need to adjust so that I can make this work to some degree, so that I don't have that loss of love for overall what brought me here in the first place. And that's kind of my hope now, is like by making some of those adjustments that I started at the end of 2020, early 2021, probably won't even finish until like near the end of 2021, is that eventually I can get that, 80-90% back up to 100. And maybe it won't come, but that that hope is there, right? And I think that's kind of where you're at now, is figuring out what pivots you need to make. Does that, kind of like Rev made his pivot, right? He just did it. He made his pivot of, I don't want to do this thing, but I have to do this thing. And that way he can get himself out of the burnout and keep doing what he loves, which is making the content and being a part of the community and meeting people and, providing entertainment. And I think it's interesting because we're almost seeing the steps, right? I'm like at the end of it, right in the middle, like the crux of it. And you're kind of like on that journey of getting started to make that pivot, right? Does that,
yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, look, one big thing here too is you mentioned Naruto and like, Dragon Ball Z. For me, like the only thing that like really brings me joy right now is opening packs. And I miss it dearly. And the fact that I just
About spit everywhere. We about had another rubber band moment.
It's so tough now because everything that I buy is inventory. It's part of my business. And when I open that, I lose money.
Yeah.
You messaged me at 3 a.m. I think last night. Just you were just
wired.
I want to open so bad. You wanted to open some Naruto so bad.
I did.
And like that just little thing. And I want to open. I have a little bit of Naruto too. I want to open it. I want to put.
If I ask Radar for 30 seconds straight to open one of those tins on camera behind him, he would do. I don't even think it'd take 30 seconds.
Probably not. I'm gonna end up opening some probably.
I'm gonna be a good supporter, but yeah, he would.
Yeah, like I miss it dearly, and I think it's clearly coming from you a little bit too of wanting to open that stuff. And even though like it's not that expensive, like. It's so tough because it's part of your business. It's getting there, but yeah, it's part of the business now. Like, and I just miss that. I don't know what the word
newness, excitement, the unknown. Yeah, and like, and that is one of the things too, right? That leads to burnout is things become monotonous, right? We had talked about like COVID happened, people are just in their usual 9 to 5s, but now they don't have their release. They can't go to the movies, they can't go to bars, they can't do whatever, and so now they're feeling trapped essentially. And I think that's a great point. One of the things that I think you mentioned there that we haven't really touched on, and this may be the biggest point of it all. So if you've managed to stay with us for like 50 some minutes, this is probably the biggest tidbit you'll get from this. But one of the most valuable things you can do out there, I'm a firm believer in this, is, and this is going to sound super cliche, but is surround yourself with like-minded people. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and find a bunch of burnout people and surround yourself with them. But I'm saying when you're in a good headspace, like right now, me, motivated to the teeth, I'm in a position that I'm motivated right now and I'm pretty strong-willed. So in my opinion, it's very unlikely that your burnout will pull me down.
I hope not.
But my motivation could pull you up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why it's so important. And I know this is a big Gary Vee concept, is surrounding yourself with like people that like, are go-getters, want to get stuff done. And whether that, again, I know a lot of this sounds like we're talking business related because we're both business people, but this can be collection too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why there are communities out there that have thrived so hard. And you see like such a large concentration of good stuff in those communities is because they feed off each other's energy. They work together. They do these things. And I don't think that's any different with avoiding burnout is, you can almost like help each other along. And when one of you starts to experience it, another one can be there to like lend that hand and figure it out together and tackle those problems. And hey, man, you're doing this thing and I think you're getting kind of burnt out on it. It's like Z&G. Z&G messaged me and said, hey, don't forget to spend some time with your wife. Step away from it. It'll still be there. Like, you talked about this. Like, it's that kind of thing. Surround yourself with those people that are trying to do those bigger and better things, no matter what they are, and put yourself in a situation where you've almost like got that really good support group. We had even come in full circle, referenced it back to kind of when you started, you and your girlfriend decided to go separate ways. And while, it will probably be a good thing long term, in that immediate moment, it was a piece of your support that was then gone. Right. Which maybe is like one of the first dominoes that started the burnout step. And this isn't me saying, bro, you need to go get on Tinder right now and go find someone. But it's saying, keep building that support group. Yeah, we should plug a phone number at the bottom. It pops up and it's like, call Radar. If they're hey, listen,
we'll do Radar's a Tinder live stream together.
Yeah, Radar's an attractive guy. If you want to hit him up,
I just need to get my haircut looking like yours. You got that fresh cut, man.
You just had.
It's beautiful. It looks great.
Thanks, man. Anyways, completely. But yeah, that around. And I think that's a great note to end on, because I think that's one of the biggest, most valuable things to avoiding burnout is to surround yourself with people that can kind of help you through those hard times. It's tough to navigate this stuff alone, no matter what you're doing. but putting yourself around people that will keep you motivated, keep you amped, be positive reinforcements that aren't going to drag you down, but also aren't just going to tell you what you want to hear, you know, that can help you get through that process. And I've had some of those people in the past that really helped me. You know, I've mentioned my wife multiple times in this podcast and ones we've done before. I would never have made it to where I am today without her. You know, she is one of those huge rocks. You know, you're one of those huge rocks. You sit and listen to me all the time where I'm teetering on the verge of, you know, busting out of my seat, positive or negative. And, you know, I think that is like such a big part of it. And, you know, so that's kind of what I want to leave everyone on.
I've got more to hit on now because I mean, just
hit on it.
I'll touch on this real quick because I don't think you'll have anything to. Well, maybe you will, but
wait, when have I never had something?
So bad? like again, throughout my life, I just have a wide variety of interests. That's probably why I get along with so many people. That's probably why I'm the podcast guy, because the amount of things that I just enjoy talking about and learning about and diving in deep on is just endless. You know? Yeah. And I've always been that way growing up. I was just always. And I'm at the point where like, and also just from a smart business mindset, all my eggs have been in Pokemon for the past 5 years. I have gone all in on Pokemon over and over and over again. And although it's worked out, and I do see it continuing to work out, I just want to protect myself. And I also just, out of pure interest, want to get into other things. I want to get back into the stock market. Again, I made that decision earlier in 2020. It was the wrong decision because I sold Pokemon to do it financially. But I want to get into that. I want to figure out how to play with the housing market, do rentals, like open up businesses. Like I would love to own a restaurant one day. I know that's like the dumbest thing to do, but I love food. I want to like, there's so many things that I would love to just have my hands in as much as I can. And just out of pure interest. And yeah, again, it's probably safer to not have all my net worth in Pokemon. I don't advise anybody to do that. I mean, unless you are a business, you know, it's fine because that's what you're doing.
Probably still don't do that.
But yeah, maybe not. I mean, like I'm diversifying into other card games. So like I'm slowly working my way out of that, right? But it's still the same, whatever. So yeah, that's really a big thing. Like I was at my friend's last night for like hours. He did incredibly well on Tesla and all these other stocks. And I got him to buy Pokemon, you know, recently. Like I had him come in, you know, this is not a Pokemon guy. He's just like, knows what I do. And he's like, hey, can I get in some Pokemon and do some of that? Yeah. And I was talking to him last night, like, let me know which stock you're buying next. And so I can look at it and think about buying it too. We just like help each other. Like you said, we're helping each other. We know certain things, our own lines of business, and we can help each other grow. So it's just another interest that I have and I want to get into. And I mean, I understand the risks all around, and it's always tricky when you're dealing with friends. Like I spent 10 grand of his money on Pokemon. Like if that went bad, does that ruin our relationship? That type of thing. So you always got to wager that and be careful with that. But I mean, the level of our relationship's on a whole nother level. I don't think it would. So I was okay with doing all that. That's a very tricky thing to do. I do not recommend mixing business with that, but I'm a different.
Don't do business with friends and family. It generally just does not end up good. Trust me.
Yeah, I'm a different breed. So
yeah, radar. He's a little different.
But that swings into the.
I'm giving you. Remember that whole like, are you more Squeaks or are you more Radar? Are you the leaning tower? Or are you the straightest tower that's ever been made? Yeah, figure it out, and that'll probably tell you which way you want to go.
Yeah, but that kind of leads into this one conversation, which could fire you up a little bit. But I mean,
I'm already fired up, baby.
This has happened to me recently a lot, and we talked about this before we started recording. The business that we've done with friends in the past has kind of screwed us because we've offered this wealth of knowledge, wealth of information, wealth of our time, our friendship. And I have had plenty of opportunities very recently now where, because the money has gone so crazy, that one side of the party, not me, has gotten greedy and basically just taking away the opportunity for me to benefit off of it in any way, or just get a bone thrown to me later on. Like it's going away so fast, you know, and it's painful. It's not an enjoyable
Yeah.
thing emotionally, financially. Finding a partner in certain things is so difficult. I mean, even like our partnership here, um, like said it to you before, like I just found you as the perfect friend, the perfect business colleague, Pokemon colleague to do this type of thing with. And it's going phenomenal. It's great. So,
Yeah, and I can relate to that, like in the sense of, I mean, I've been burnt a lot over the years. And, the way I try to do it with people is, I want to be friends with everyone. And for the most part, I try to help everyone that I can. Now, obviously, there's going to be some thresholds where, like, if I'm going to have to sit down for 2 hours and explain something to you or something, I may have to charge for the time, etc. But for the most part, I try to like be forthcoming with no expectation of anything in return. I think the hardest part though is then when you do selflessly do that for someone with no expectation back, and then there is the flip side where sometimes you need that person to lend a hand or, communicate or whatever, and they don't. I think that does hurt because even though it may be business, you know, it wasn't business when I was selflessly helping you and never asking anything in return. That was a friendship thing, right? And so then to have the relationship almost be made business, right, is
mhm.
is where like that pain comes in. And I actually have a story of avoiding this. Back there was a time I bought a collection off someone, and it was somebody that I had known for years. And I asked them, "How much do you want for this?" And they said, I'm looking to buy a car. I'm hoping to get, $1,000 bucks. And I looked at this thing and I'm thinking, everything parted out, probably 6 grand here. So obviously I need a little room to make money, but like $1,000 bucks, like that would be robbing this person blind.
Mhm.
And I pretty much just told him like, you have more here than that. And so we ended up making a deal for the collection. I got it in. And some of the stuff was a little lower condition than what had been described. And I messaged a friend of mine that, and I just kind of explained the situation, didn't tell him who it was. And I just said, do I say anything? Do I say anything about this collection, like being a little more banged up? And the friend replied to me and said, well, you didn't treat it like a business transaction from the start. Because one, if you had, you would have just taken it $1,000. And so why would you start now? And I thought about that a lot. And I think that made me really realize who I wanted to be within the scope of everything. And to me, the giving that some of that margin back to them to help them was valuable to me. It was almost like a reciprocal for the friendship. They weren't asking me for that.
Mhm.
It's just what I felt was the right thing to do. But I think there's like the flip side of that too, where you can't expect everyone to feel that same way, right? If somebody gave the $1,000 bucks and walked away, are they really at fault when that was what was asked? And so I think there is that tough thing. And so I think that's why we kind of find ourselves in these situations where maybe we feel burnt and the other person doesn't really understand why you feel burnt or doesn't, it doesn't make sense. And so it's a tough dynamic. And I think that's a great example of like how some of those things like that can compound and lead to burnout if you're not careful, because you think you're establishing these great connections and making these great moves and everything like that, and you're working your way down your path, and then you have this major wall that comes up in your path because a lot of things that you perceived were one way weren't. And so, I can relate to that wholeheartedly. I think at this point, I would just say those are the kind of things you just have to understand sometimes are going to happen, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you're going to have people that you work with, and for a period of time, maybe your friends, and this is why I tell everyone, you know, everyone's your friend till they're not. And I know that's like it sounds really cynical and everything. It doesn't have to be, right? It's just an understanding. everyone's my friend until they're not, whether they choose that I'm not their friend or I choose they're not my friend. And so it's more of just like a defensive thing. It doesn't have to be a like, ooh, I need to sit and analyze everything I say before I say it, or this person might come back. But it's just being mindful that like sometimes people's relationships change. And the second that you're more willing to accept that and not necessarily take it all like personal at the core, but just take it for what it is and move on from it, the easier it is to kind of avoid that transition to burnout, because nothing can burn you out faster than feeling like somebody you were close with, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like is what's like impeding you from moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
right? And or that you thought you were close with. And so I think that can like be one of those things that it can almost like, the phrase it's a mountain or a molehill. Like I think it could be the mountain if you let it be, or it could just be the molehill that you walk over and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And so in hearing that, yeah, I think that's a super fascinating one. And again, you
And
thought I'd
that's
have nothing to add, and
no,
here
that
we
part I
are.
did, the first part.
Oh, okay,
But
okay, my bad.
but
My
yeah,
bad.
no, bringing this full circle, I think that's the number one thing that has really led to my burnout is the relationships, because that's what I've strived on. That's what I focus on. That's what I love. And that's what I've done the most of in these past 4 months. And of
Mhm.
doing it that much, you lead to more of those relationships dwindling or getting burned on, because the fact that it's just a number game at that point. And
Yep.
yeah, I mean, like one, I'm not, yeah,
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so what I would say there then is kind of tying that back to the bigger circle, and this is just me trying to speak from experience. I'm not a master on this. There's probably somebody out there with like a psychology degree. It's like
Mhm.
this guy's off his rocker, and somebody needs to take his Pepsi fountain away from him. But the when I hear that and I talk about like surrounding yourself, even though it's really unfortunate that you had to experience some of those situations, or that I did, or that anyone out there does, I think what it does is it really teaches you about the qualities in a person to look for that blend well with you,
Mhm.
right? Because again, some of those situations just may be misunderstandings. One person felt one way, the other felt the other way, and that's just how it is. They're just not going to see eye to eye on it. Doesn't mean either are wrong, but it helps you realize the qualities that you find valuable, right? And you can then start to surround yourself with people that find those qualities valuable, to where, like you said, it's a numbers game, but your odds of encountering people that put you in that situation again become less,
Mhm.
because you've started almost weeding those people out by proxy. Doesn't mean you won't talk to them or associate with them or even do business with them, but that you almost put that guard back,
Mhm.
right? That you'll know, there's going to be certain people that always have my back thick and thin, no matter what, right? I've got plenty of those people, and I'm sure you do too. And then you'll have those other people that, like, again, they've got your back until they don't.
Mhm.
And once you start to become mindful of it, it's much easier for those situations when they do happen to just be a molehill. It's how it is, and you move on, than for it to be the mountain that, forever impedes you because you can't climb it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
well, man, this went from Pokemon burnout to psychology session.
Yeah. I
But hey,
mean,
I think we're better for it.
oh,
And I think
absolutely.
everyone, like, let us know if you guys have experienced burnout, whether it's trying to start your own business or collecting, even if it's not in Pokemon, but anything, or your own job, whatever. You know, what did you do to escape it? And how did you feel? Did any of this like hit home with you? And you know, I think this is w- I I have this like sneaking suspicion this will be one of our lowest viewed podcasts,
Mhm.
but also the one that the people that do view it appreciate the most, because I think it's like one of our realest ones.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I've been chasing as much as possible is authenticity, because it's something that we get caught up in doing a certain type of video, right? Like I said, I was battling these two personalities, so it's also nice to, I guess, drag out and have the real talk, have the real deep
Yeah.
conversation, and
Well, and to show that it's not always rainbows and butterflies, that we're not
right.
always spending $30,000 on Naruto and $10,000 on Pokemon and doing whatever. Like it seems glamorous because that's like the clickbaity stuff that gets people to tune into the video and
Hmm.
helps grow the channel, do what you do. But like the reality is, like, there are a lot of stressors that go into all of this. There's a lot of stressors in even just being a collector or somebody that wants to
Yeah.
buy Pokemon cards. The fact that you just can't go into a Target now and buy cards And now it has to be this whole game on how to get them. And you're calling up reps, figuring out when they stock the store inside the mire at 3 a.m., hunting the trucks down. Like, it becomes stressful.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just one of those things. And man, I need a Pepsi.
I think we need to do blips and bleps. You don't have any, do you?
I do. Did you make some?
Yep. I'm ready to go. Are you ready?
All right.
Should we cut?
I guess I'm gonna have to be.
We can cut.
I did not make any bleps.
We can cut. You want to cut?
No, we're not cutting.
All right.
Nope, I won't do that.
All right, first blip. A pristine 10 Charizard, first edition, will sell in 2021.
First edition?
There's only 3 that exist.
Like base set.
Yeah, the first edition base set Charizard. There's 3 that exist.
So you're talking back at pristine 10s.
There's no CGC. And PSA doesn't know how to get a pristine card.
Happen. Okay, we'll talk.
Oh, wait.
Just leave it.
Oh, the SGC.
That was 2020, though, wasn't it?
You're right. Oh, Beckett, pristine 10 will sell in 2021.
All right. Blep.
I'm sorry.
Where'd it go? It was never there. Gen 4 remakes have been a myth for a long time and are probably not coming in 2021.
This is a little different, but I just want a Shining Nidoking card. Can I get one, please? Thanks, Pokemon.
Fine, on that same note, my blep, Jolteon's the best evolution, hands down.
Okay. Have you seen a Shining Nidoking, by the way? They're like super blue. My friend showed it to me yesterday in Pokemon Go.
Like a Nidoqueen? We're not talking about this. If you want to hear more about the Shining Nidoking, you got to go to next episode.
Number 3, Squeaks Game World will hit 50,000 subs by June. He laughs.
Well, my friend, you are optimistic, and this is why I keep you in my corner, because I'm a realist, and that's not happening. But, my last one, I've already done the Pokemon's going to create a new rarity thing, so I don't want to do that one again. My last blep is going to be, I'm thinking about it. I want this to be like a big one.
Well, first, here we go talking about how structured Squeaks is and how much I wing things, and we're doing blips and bleps. I'm structured at the point.
And we're literally reversed because Radar spent his whole time thinking of blips instead of thinking of a topic for today's video. You can thank moi here for the topic of today's video. Mr. Radar over there created his 3 blips. So, yeah, throw a little more shade, buddy. I'll tell the whole story. Just like how it took us an hour and a half to get here, and we found every reason not to, and I spent 15 minutes playing Pat Flynn's game of Can You Guess That Pokemon on his YouTube channel. By the way, I won. I did win, and I will gladly challenge anyone next week to beat me to it, because the second that video goes up, I'm going to kick all your asses at it, because it's literally like my favorite thing to do. And yeah, so be prepared for that. So that is going to be my blep. I'll beat all your asses at Pat Flynn's Guess That Pokemon game. Bring it on.
That was fantastic. Best blips and bleps yet.
Yeah, I really hope someone picks that so I can just keep going with that next episode.
Well, that's our show.
Shout out to Pat Flynn, Deep Pocket Monster. Listen.
The whole reason that we got fired up and it literally took an hour for this to start was because you put that video out. So thank you for just
and
blowing this guy's mind.
Like I think the energy would have been a lot lower, but I was amped when I saw it. At first I was just like, what is this? And I was like 4 Pokemon in, it's like, I know that one, I know that one, I know that one. Or it's like, what are you doing? And I literally kept naming them. And then I saw that I was like, oh, well, no way. You just named the first one and you win. But then I realized it was named all of them. And some of them were on the screen for like half a second.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and I forgot that you could change a video to like quarter speed. So I'm literally just like pause clicking the whole time, like trying to get it to stop. And I literally realized, like, I can win this thing. Like, nobody's done this yet.
There's no
And
reward
like,
either. It's
and there is
comment
dude,
gets
but
pinned.
that I'm a competitor, dude. I don't care if there's a reward. A pinned comment, that's a reward. And that is what. But listen, I want to note right here, that is positive content.
Oh yeah.
Not only is he gonna get like 1 million views because that thing's gonna get watched like 500 times to finish it, but the engagement rate's going to be high. The watch time's going to be high. Like, that is brilliant content, and it's actually fun. And all that did was give me the passion, the motivation to go out and create some segment for my own channel, not to just copy that, but to like make my own segment of something that's great for my channel and not just do the same static content that I'm always doing, but to mix it up and keep it going and keep evolving and innovating. And that's part of like one of the cool things of like having Pat in my corner and having eyes on what he's doing is because we do chat, we do talk, and like it makes me motivated. It makes me pumped. And so like build your circle, build your corner, whatever you want to call it. Put yourselves in a box, do a rhombus. I don't even care anymore. We're out of here. See y'all next time.
What's a rhombus? See you guys next time. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Collectible.
You would love to watch you that close, dude.